Greg Bauer and also former federal prosecutor Ben Clements. All right, let's dive into this, starting with you, Greg. You've got the president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. He's got making these assertions here. So what evidence could there be there as far as the president and Giuliani basing those claims on? And are these comments actually doing more harm legally to the president?
Well, with respect to the text messages, you mean, Frances? Is
right,
that?
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure what is being mentioned there by the president. There doesn't seem to be any basis for alleging that there are these mysteriously missing text messages at this point. That matter had been the subject of a very professional, very thorough report by the DOJ Office of Inspector General that was released some months ago. So I simply don't know what to make of this latest allegation.
Well, it's also on the side, you got Rudy Giuliani, who kind of goes back and forth, sending the mixed signals here with his messaging, Ben. In an interview recently with The Hill, he said that he believed the investigation should end up soon, or should end soon, but then changed it on whether the president would answer any more questions. So does the Mueller investigation move forward if there is no interview, and would there be a subpoena after that?
Well, the Mueller investigation, I would submit, will move forward whether or not the president is ever interviewed. I think we may be moving into the phase now where the president, if he is seen as a target or a quasi-target in the eyes of the special counsel's team, it may be that he is offered a chance to come in and explain why he should not be indicted. That would normally happen with respect to a target who might receive a target letter from the government. One of the complicating factors we have here, of course, is that even if the special counsel's team views the president as a target, we have this Office of Legal Counsel opinion, actually a couple of opinions going back some 40 years at DOJ, which suggests that a sitting president cannot be indicted. So that complicates significantly the president's status and the issue of whether he could be or should be interviewed by the special counsel.
And Greg, where do you see it going, especially with Rudy Giuliani and kind of the mixed messaging that he's been having here, how that could hurt or affect this investigation?
It's hard to make sense of what...
Ben, apologize, Ben.
Excuse me.
Ben.
Yeah, thank you, Frances. I agree with Greg. I don't think it's going to affect the Mueller investigations. Certainly not the ability of the investigation to move forward. It will move forward regardless of what Rudy Giuliani says or does, and regardless of whether or not the president submits to an interview. His comments are typical of the modern-day Rudy Giuliani, incomprehensible and inconsistent. I believe he said in the same interview in which he reopened the possibility of submitting to an interview that he wouldn't have the president be interviewed by Mueller over his dead body. So I think it's more of Giuliani's smokescreens, as are the crazy allegations about the supposedly deleted texts. And I think it's just part of a pattern to distract. It's not a legal strategy per se. It's a PR strategy designed to get the public and the media focused on Giuliani's crazy assertions instead of his client's criminal and impeachable offenses.
I was staying with you, and I want to talk to you about Time Magazine's new report that says Paul Manafort was millions of dollars in debt with a Russian oligarch in 2016, and he, quote, owed us a lot of money and was offering ways to pay it back. If promises were made and Trump knew it, so what would that mean for him legally, Ben?
Well, certainly it would go a long way to buttressing the evidence that there was a criminal conspiracy involving the campaign, involving the candidate, now the president, and involving his businesses through the Trump Organization and involving the Russian government. There's an awful lot of evidence to suggest that even before the efforts to influence the election, that the Russian government had enormous influence and control over Donald Trump because of his financial dependence upon them. But that additional information certainly enhances all of that and supports further the conclusions that I expect we will see at some point out of Mueller's investigation.
All right, let's look ahead at 2019, Greg. You've got the president facing this triple threat right now. You have got the New York Attorney General, you've got the Southern District of New York, Special Counsel. How does he go about managing that and surviving it, if at all?
Yeah, it's going to be challenging for him. There's no doubt about it, based upon what we've seen reported publicly to this point. traditionally, what I think a president would do would be to continually reassure the American people that he has done nothing wrong, if that's his belief, and that he has told his people to cooperate fully with the investigation, and that he himself is committed to cooperating fully with the investigation. But that, of course, is exactly the opposite of what we've seen so far. So I would expect we will see more of the same from the president, criticizing the prosecutor, criticizing the FBI, and trying to deflect as best he can the attention that should be aimed at him, because the investigation is aimed at him and his campaign and his businesses, instead of just, again, committing to cooperating as best he can.
Yeah, Ben, very quickly, which investigation poses the biggest threat? Ben.
Well, I really think it's the combination. You've got the Michael Cohen, the Southern District of New York investigation. You have the Mueller investigation. But I would add to the mix, you have the New York Attorney General and a newly elected Attorney General, Letitia James, who is moving forward with the suit against the Trump Foundation, and very well could have grounds, we believe does have grounds, to pursue a dissolution of the Trump organization, that is all of his business empire. So I think the combination poses enormous threat to Donald Trump and his family, and ultimately the biggest threat is impeachment by the House and conviction by the Senate.
All right, Ben Clements, Greg Bauer, thanks to both of you. Still ahead, evidence suggesting President Trump's political calculation about the border